Hey guys, this is Mr. Nightmare here, and today we'll be reading Chapter 3 of Forever Yours Slenderman Love Story. Before we get started, please hit that like button, comment, subscribe to this channel if you guys want more creepypasta fanfictions out there. Until then, let's get started. The rest of the day passed in a blur, and soon Allison was sitting in her usual seat in the back row of her English class. Ash has not yet arrived, and so she was reading her book that she brought a few days ago. The bell just rung. Ash made his way into the room, and the teacher threw him a slight glare as he took his seat beside Allison, who didn't even look up from her book. "Are you ready to perform, Juliet?" he asked as he leaned over towards her desk. She simply shrugged and leaned her nose further into the pages of the paperback. She was nearly finished with it, and she did not want to put it down to be interrogated by the persistent new kid. "All right, students," Miss Sandy clapped her hands. "I need all the parts for today to come up forward," she usually said in her confident voice as she surveyed the classroom, glancing at the students who were chosen to play the characters for today. "Allison, put down that book and wait in one of those desks up here for your part." Allison just sighed loudly and put her book down. "Come on, my good pilgrim," Ash said jokingly as we both made our way towards the front of the classroom. "Art thou not excited?" "Not in the slightest," I said, irritated, as she sat down in the chair. There was quite a few pages before she had a line, so she just followed along with Romeo and his most trusted friends made their way to the Catholic ball. Allison got sidetracked into her thoughts, and the teacher had to break order for her to get back up and started speaking her lines. There were just a few parts where Romeo had just noticed Juliet from across the room. She had taken a hold of Allison's right hand and gripping it tightly. "If I perform with my unworthiness hand this holy shrine, the gentle sin is this: my lips blushing pilgrims, ready to stand to smooth that rough touch and a tender kiss," Ash said, quoting Romeo perfectly. Allison had to admit that he was, in fact, the perfect Romeo. He had those gorgeous looks and those sad puppy dog eyes. His voice was like honey, as he retold her the ancient story to her, as though he was meant in all those fluent things of Shakespeare had written for one of his most famous characters to say. A few more lines were said, with perfect sync from both parts. Ash's passion is much more than Allison, though. She felt like a pitiful actor comparing to the dashing Ash. "Oh, then, dear saint, let these lips do what the hand does. We pray, grant thou last faith turn into despair." Ash quotes again, dropping a seductive wink towards Allison, who tried her best to ignore it. "Saints do not move, thou grant from prayers of sake," Allison said in return, stuttering slightly due to nervousness. Ash smirked at her as though he knew something quite funny that she would never begin to understand, as he said, "Then move not, while my prayers take effect, I take." And then he leaned slowly to savor Allison's bemusement and pressed his lips lightly onto hers. She gasped, and just soon as his soft, smooth lips touched hers, he pulled away. The class was hooting, calling at Ash to get some. One student in the very back row even called out, "Get a room," probably a jealous girl who wanted Ash to kiss her instead. Allison mused. It was no secret that the entire freshman class was drooling over the newest male addition. All right, Miss Sandy said to gain everyone's attention. "Ash, I know you're trying to keep the character's perspective, but please do kiss Allison on your own time." Allison blushed at that comment. "Oh, trust me, I will," Ash said. As she was so startled by this, she had a muffled gasp and a few blood flowing from a heavily to her face, turning her cheeks into a dark crimson. The whole class was laughing again, and thank God the bell rang, declaring the end of first period. Allison moved quickly to pick up her book from her desk as everyone filed out of the room, all except for Ash, who followed her back to her seat. "What do you want?" she asked without turning around to look at him. "About the kissing on our own terms," he said near in her ear, so as he not to be heard by Miss Sandy. "What about it?" Alice's heart was pounding in her chest. She could feel her heart rhythm increase when he's too close to her. His chest was nearly pressed up against her back. "I was just thinking maybe we should kiss on our own terms or our own time," she asked nonchalantly as she was whirled around, finally facing him, book in hand. He laughed. "Well, we could start slower, like a date maybe." "Oh," Allison glanced down at her feet, which were tucked into a small pair of black and blue Vans. "So what do you say?" he said quietly. She knew she should said no. She knew it would have been the logical reply, but something about Ash seemed off. But all she said in response was a breathless okay. He grinned at her. "How about now?" Her dark eyes widened. "Like right now? We have class to get to." He looked up at the ceiling, then looked like he was trying to hold back a charismatic smirk. Then he caught Miss Sandy's dagger-like glare and staring at them. "Please, we should discuss this out in the hall." Allison just nodded and followed him out into the green-tiled hallway. It was lined with dark gray lockers. Students were rushing and pulling their binders, textbooks out of their bags, and walking hurriedly to the other classrooms. She was about to turn into the direction of her locker, but Ash shook his head gently, gripping her forearm and guiding her down the flight of stairs to the first floor. "I thought we were determined on skipping out classes," she said worriedly. She never skipped school before. She didn't think starting now was a good idea. Actually, as Ash said, "We never came to agreement, but just don't think I'm standing here in an insane asylum for another minute. I figured we might as well leave." He shrugged. "But it's only your second day," I protested. "So?" he inquired. "I'll write a note saying I was excused." "A parent has to write that note," Allison said bluntly, catching the hint that he was going to forge the note from his parents. "It's fine," he said promptly as he understood towards the door. "Where are we going?" she said quietly. "You'll see." He smiled, a brilliant smile, the shining sun above them as he led her away from the school building and towards fun and freedom. Hey, you made it to the end of the video. I'm glad. If you want more Ben Drown love stories, check out the playlist that will be popping up soon. Also, if you want any more fanfictions narrations, please check out my other channel, Reading with Blade, which has multiple fanfictions up already. If you are interested in the yaoi experience, check out Tyler O'Connell's channel if you want to go there. But note that channel is only 18 and up. I've been listening to Tyler's stories and I'm addicted to them. Until then, bye guys!